The Ur Nature Park lies at the crossroads of three countries in the northeast of Luxembourg, on the borders with Belgium and Germany. It covers an area of 306 kilometres squared and includes 7 municipalities, aiming both at environmental conservation and at a balance between economic development and the needs of the local population. The nature park offers many a tourist attraction, starting with Vianden and its castle, which is Luxembourg's most visited site, with about 200,000 registered visitors per year. Anyone interested can easily discover the main cultural places, such as the castle or the parish church in Clairvaux. The nature park is an ideal place to combine culture with walking trips and cycling trips. Its great road and path network is appropriate and well developed. The recreational options are constantly extended, and they were complemented with the Forest Adventure Park in Vianden, where young and old can exert themselves and have fun in a unique natural setting. The nature park's offer also includes art festivals, amongst others in Lellingen, with street performances and international artists. Visitors can enjoy a cultural and environmental experience and get in touch with the population. Festivities are not only organised to promote this area, but also to create a public awareness for environmental issues and nature, and thus to improve our quality of life. The Ur Valley, with its spectacular scenery, has been formed over thousands of years. It has always been a place of interest for the locals as well as for visitors. But about 400 million years ago, the whole area was flooded, and some traces of the past are still visible today. Close to Stolzembourg, for example, where the waves of the sea shaped this rock face. These places are most interesting for geologists, who can draw conclusions on the soil in the nature park.
We're now
in a tributary valley of the Ur, in front of a rock stratum showing a thickness of 1 metre. If we remove one stone to have a look at it, we see that tiny sheets chip off. This is actually slate. Other rocks, like this sandstone, are found below. They're harder. These rocks are characteristic of our region, the Ösling. Today's impressive geological structures developed on the seabed millions of years ago. "50 million years after the layers were spread on the seabed, they hardened and were subjected to lateral pressure. The folds, which are still found in the rock, result from this process. Just above, you see a fold going back to such a mountain formation. Such phenomena were to become most important for mankind, not because of the movement of rocks, but especially because of the occurrence of metalliferous veins in these special places. If we have a look at the different blocks, we see that there was a movement. This break is particularly noticeable. It shifted 10 centimetres downwards. At the same time, a large crevice appeared. These crevices allow the flow of liquids. As you descend, the liquids will be carrying more and more crystals, copper and so on. Men have been interested in these metal deposits since ancient times, but the digging for copper started much later in Stolzembourg, in 1717 only, when farmers discovered that their cows appeared to be sick after having drunk water from the Klangbach River, too rich in copper. Later on, some galleries were dug, and today you can visit the mine. The mine is accessed by an old drain with a height of no more than 2 metres through which the water continues to be carried away. Copper mining began in the 18th century in harsh conditions. The miners dug galleries to follow the copper veins in the rock.
In
the Stolzembourg mine, the precious copper ore was deposited in the cracks between the stones. Just have a look at this crack, which is quite narrow here, only 20 centimetres, but upwards it gets wider. These cracks were irregular. In some places they were very fine, whereas in others they were much wider. The copper-bearing liquid rose through the cracks and slowly deposited the copper, so that the crevice was finally more or less filled. But the underground copper extraction produced variable results. Different investors tried repeatedly to develop copper mining in Stolzembourg, but none of them actually managed to establish a profitable business, as Stolzembourg was too far away from industrial areas and transport costs were too high. Bit by bit, the network of main galleries and laterals extended down to a depth of 169 metres. From the very start, water was the major obstacle of the miners. Today, most of the galleries are flooded. Those people who started working here in 1938 knew very well that their lives depended on the good working of the pumps. The dewatering was done as follows. 2 men were at the pump and 2 were here. It was a very simple system, and we didn't have any other tools. In periods of sustained activity, the mine employed up to 40 people, above as well as below ground. Most of them were miners, but there were also maintenance men for the pumps, workers to unload buggies, helpers, a carpenter, and even a blacksmith, who remembers very well that security was not a concern at that time, not for the operators, nor for the workers. We had life belts, but we didn't put them on. There were 4 people in the shaft, and sometimes we were asked, "What about the life belts?" The answer was, "They're here, they're still in good condition, no need to buy new ones." None of us put a life belt on. Over a period of 2 centuries, people worked altogether for about 60 years in this mine. The total length of galleries is about 2 kilometres. The Battle of the Bulge, which took place during the winter months of 1944, put an end to the mining activities, and the copper mine somehow fell into disuse and was forgotten. Now all was quiet around the copper mine. The empty buildings fell into disrepair, and if they're still in quite good condition today, it's because a tenant finally settled in this place who made some repair work on his own. At the instigation of the local Tourist Information Office, the situation radically changed in 1999 with the opening of the Museum of the Copper Mine, where a centuries-old activity is put in its true light. Today it is an undeniable fact that the copper mine strongly marked the identity of the village, as much as the Our, the Boundary River, or the 12th century castle with its impressive walls, which gave its name to the village of Stolzembourg.